Hi everybody, it's John from Envision Robotics. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to our Mother's Day tutorial. And to all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day to you. We're certainly thinking about you on this special day. So I put this tutorial together for kids that are looking for some ideas to create something special for their mom. At this time, stores are closed in Ontario to in-person shopping. Certainly there's some places to get some flowers and to get some cards and stuff like that, so that's certainly possible. But getting other types of gifts this time of year is a little bit more challenging. So this is a great little project to keep everybody occupied. And I've got this tutorial, so I'm going to do it step by step, and your kids can follow along. Now, I wanted to have something that was, say, easy enough for a 7 or 8 year old to do, all the way up to kids that are much older, and obviously they can make their designs much more complex. Over on the left here, you'll see that I often keep a lot of the components of my design. Two reasons. One, it reminds me how I did things. And number two, if I need to make some changes to my design, I have components that I used in the process, and I can just often resize those. So it's a good technique for rapidly making other designs and iterations as well. So I'm going to hop over to my other platform. Stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Make sure to name your project, give your project a name up here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out creating the petals. And for those of you that have watched my other tutorials, you know that I like to work in very light colors. It's just easier to see. I'm going to zoom up a little bit so everybody can see that. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to make the petals. And it's a multi-step process. First thing I've done is I grabbed a sphere and put it onto the platform. I'm going to hit Control D, which will make a duplicate copy for me. Next thing that I'm going to do is I want to make the petals so that they've got a kind of a concave contour to them, I guess. So I'm going to turn this one into a hole. Just going to look at the measurements here. It's 20 by 20 by 20. So I want my petals to be 1 millimeter in thickness. So I'm just going to take the one that I turned into a hole, and I'm going to make it 19 by 19. And I'm going to change the upper dimension here to 19. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and align these on their centers so that what I will have here is you'll see a hollow, and I'm just going to go over here for a second and show you. I'm just going to make a duplicate, but I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to merge them. So use your group function. Perfect. And if I click on this now and I turn it into a hole, you can see that I've got a hole within a hole. That's perfect. Okay, so I've got that here. I'm going to turn this one light again. For the moment, I'll just plunk that one over here in case I need it. So the reason I made it a sphere to begin with, it's just sometimes a little easier if you want to do the first step where you're creating a hole within a hole, so it's hollow. So what I want to do is, I know that it's 20 in length here, and I want to make the height, my apologies here. I want to make it about 40. So just grab your first one and make it about 40. Perfect. You can also enter 40 into here, and that works as well. We're going to adjust the size of our flower later on, but this is a good place to start. Okay, now let's slice these petals, and I'm going to use the roof here. So now what I need to do, I'm going to turn this one into a hole. So just go grab a roof, bring it over. I'm just going to go like this, make it nice and high. Maybe I'll start with 50, and you might have to adjust that. I want to now flip this right upside down. So click on, I need to zoom out a little bit so everybody can see that, right upside down to 180. And I'm going to align these using my align function here. Now you can adjust the dimensions here to, if you think you want your petals to be a little thicker. So I'm just going to do that. So some of this is where you can practice and just I'm going to try that this time. I'm going to try that. Now, I'm going to cut mine all the way through. So sometimes you might need to just drive this down a little bit. And there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to go and, as I mentioned, I'm going to create a copy. So I hit Control D to duplicate it. And once I've done that, I'm going to click on my group, and that will slice that all the way through. Let's just see here, though. I'm going to make sure that I cut enough there. You know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to delete that one. And again, see, it's good to have a copy of what we've done. I'm just going to move this down a little bit more. Because I'm moving it down a little bit more, and there, I've got a nice little gap at the bottom here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that down to maybe about 17. Make sure to realign these again. Make sure that looks good. I've cut it all the way through. I'm going to bring it over here, duplicate it, move it over. I'm going to group it. Good. Now I got a nice little gap there. You can see I've got these almost like two little shells. Good. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to take this one, just move it over here for the moment. I've got this here, my two shells. Next thing I need to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to make two halves that are independent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find my box, and I'm going to move that box into position here. If I need to change my the amount that I move it each time, I can change the snap grid, and I'm going to have it so it's 0.1, so nice and fine here. Going to make this a little bit higher. Bring it over this way. I'll center this in a minute, and we'll see what I'm doing. Basically, what I want to do, I think that was off is I want to create two independent leaves. I'm going to go like this. And when I group that, that's perfect. I'll get this one. I'm going to duplicate that again, move this one over. And you'll see here that I will have two independent leaves in a moment. And I find it just makes it a little bit easier when we're moving. A Pizzaville special here. Okay, I'm sure that's going to show up in the video. Okay, good. And I've got that one in place. And now I want to create this one over here. Get this out of the way so everybody can see. Move that over, and this is going to be my left side. It looks like it's aligned here. Yep, it's okay. I might just move it over a little bit there. I'm going to group these again. Move this over here. You can see it's starting to look like my two starter petals. I'm going to group this here for a second. I'm going to grab one and just back it up. And again, a little bit of personal choice here. I don't want to have this look here. Obviously, it doesn't look very good. But what I'm going to do is just grab one and move it over a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Good. Move this out. Okay, so now I got these two petals. And what I can do is I can grab these, duplicate them again. I'm just going to move them over here so you can see them. And I'm going to turn them 100 and actually I'm going to turn them 45 here, so you can start to see there. We've got a nice little design here. I can grab the two that I was working with here, duplicate them, move them around over here as well. Good, very good. You can see I've got starting to get a nice little design for my flower. And you can keep doing this, of course. Maybe I'll do one more here. Yeah, I'll do one more. I'll grab that one here, grab that one here, and I'm going to duplicate, turn them a little bit more here. And for these ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one, and I'm just going to have to move it over a little bit here so I can change the angle. And I believe it was this one here that I grabbed. So I have to look, make sure you're grabbing the right one. And move that one out a little bit. Good. You can keep doing that. So I'll stop there just for the sake of the tutorial. But essentially what you can do is you can keep grabbing them, and you can, like, so for example, if I want to add, actually, well, I'll do one more just to show everybody. Okay, so I've got this one here, looks like an outside petal, and I'm going to go grab the other one over here, and I hold my shift key down to do that. I'm going to hit duplicate. I've got this one over here. I'm just moving it into position. And I can go grab, maybe make like that, a little bit of, pull it a little bit. Good. There you go. So we've got the effect of a flower, and I'm happy with that for now. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to go and create the centerpiece. I'm going to go duplicate the piece that I was using over here. So I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller, and I'm going to put it in the center here. Before I do that, and if I'm happy with my design here, I'm going to go and group everything. And I like, as I said, working in light colors. So once that's grouped, I'm going to take this here. To see it better, sometimes it does help to change the color a little bit here. Yeah. Make that a little bit narrower. It's like the bud, the new leaves that are forming inside. Let me do this. I'll change this one again to, for the moment, I'll do blue. Okay, now let's get these aligned. Just so it's in the center there. Good. If I'm happy with that, I can just make that a little bit higher. Good. That looks good. Okay, so now I've got my flower and I've got my leaves. I'm just going to move all of this stuff over here around it. Okay, and obviously you can select the color of choice. Tinkercad doesn't have a ton of choices here for colors for the moment. Let's make it purple. We're going to resize this a little bit later anyways, but just put this over here for the moment, and now let's go make our flower pot. So to make our flower pot, what we're going to do is we're going to go find a cone. Now, working in a dark color like this, as I said, is a little bit more challenging. So let's go for the moment and make it a lighter color. Click on your cone here, and let's bring up some of the controls. So we want our top radius to, let's just see, maybe be about 20. I'm going to put 20 in here. And so if the top radius is 20, it's actually 40 in terms of its full size. And I'm going to make it a little bit higher. Let's make it probably close to, I won't make it too big because it's a little harder for everybody to see on the screen, but for the moment I'll make it about 40. There. And we want to have our base to be a little bit larger. I want to have the effect here of, let's make that 13 for the moment. And that looks like we've got a nice little flower pot design here. So a couple things that we want to do with this. We want to create a water tray. So for me to go and do that, I'm going to go and grab a cylinder. And I know that my radius here is 20, the base radius is 13, so it's actually 26, the full size. So I'm going to make it, I want at least a couple of millimeters on either side. So I want room for little edge around it so the water can sit in there, plus the lip of my base. So if this is 40, let's try here making this about 40. We're going to give 3 plus 3, so let's make this 46 and see what that looks like to begin with. It's probably going to be way too big. Yeah, but that's okay. We can size it here in a moment. So let's make this maybe 6 high. Yeah, that'll probably be way too big. So let's do this. Let's do 40. Oh, I think I was telling you the top was 40. It's actually the base here, my apologies, is actually only 13, so it's 26. 32, let's make it 32 then. And I think that's still going to be too big. Let's actually just manually size it there. Let's see here. 32. 32 by 32. Oh, actually, it won't be so bad when you look at it now. Okay, so we've got this here, but the next thing I want to do, as I said, is I want to, and we'll turn this one a little bit lighter color, is I want to create a insert for the water. So I'm going to go grab this, Control D. I'm just going to move it over here so you can see it. I'm going to turn it into a hole, and it's 32. So I'm going to shave off maybe about 3 millimeters. Let's see if that's enough here. So 29 by 29. And I'm just going to align the 2 base ones. Yeah, that's probably enough there. Move this over here for a moment. Now, if I were to group everything now, what would happen is I would really just create a ring. So I'm going to maybe make this 2.5 high for the moment. Group these, make sure they're aligned again, which they are. I'm going to use my group function, move this over here, and I'll just quickly align everything. Good, so I've got my, looks good here, I'm happy with that. Good. I've got my little flower pot design. If I want, I can certainly make this a little bit lower. Maybe I'll make it 30, 34. Again, yeah, I like that a little bit better. Going to make sure that these are aligned, which they are. I can then group them. And I'm going to make my flower pot gray in a few minutes. And it's not because I like gray as a color, it's just a little bit easier for everybody to see. But what I want to do is I want to do 2 more things. One is I want to make a little bit of a insert and add some soil into my flower pot here. So the top radius is, we have it again. If I click on this, I think it was 40, right, for the top radius for this. So I'm going to shave off a little bit on this one. I'm going to turn it into a hole for a moment. And so that one's 40. Maybe let's make it 36 to start, because I'm going to have 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters on each side, hopefully. Let's see here. I've changed the dimension a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit less. Okay, so I have to go change that. That's okay. We can just kind of size it like this. Maybe make it maybe 29 by 29. Let's see how that looks here. So make sure we grab these two here, align them, align them. Yeah, that looks good. Happy with that. So let's go and do two things. I'm going to duplicate this for a minute. You'll see I'm going to make that one into some dirt. I'm just going to, so this one here is 4 high. Yeah, let's make it 4.5. Just going to move this in here, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to group the whole here in my flower pot. And boom, let's do that. Okay, now I'm going to take my soil and I'm going to make it a brown color. I'll use a lighter color brown for the moment. See how that looks. I'm going to insert this, get it aligned. You know what? For the sake of, I'll make it a little bit darker here. Yeah, looks a little better. Okay, if I want, I can move this down a little bit here. Perfect. Good. I'm going to just group these two for the moment. And boom. Now I've got to click on multicolor if I want to retain my color scheme. So good. So now we have our pot and we have our flower. Now let's go and add the stem and the leaves, and that's pretty much it. So to do that, what I can do is I'm going to use my scribble function, and I might have to do this once or twice to kind of get it right. And it's a little bit of trial and error because you're not really at the moment really able to size it effectively, but I'm good with that for the moment. And let's see. So I've got this here. I'm going to make my stem probably, let's see, about 3.3. Let's see what 3.5 looks like. Okay, good. Start with that. And again, you'll have to a little bit of trial and error to figure out, the size of your stem relative to the size of your flower pot. We can certainly make some adjustments to it. I'm going to turn it green. Now what I want to do is I want to just flip it up 90 degrees so it's standing straight up. I'm going to move it into position in my pot here. Back out a little bit. Just plunk it into the soil. If you want, you can center it, or now we're just doing this with one flower, but there's no reason why you can't do it with more. Okay, so we've got our, good, I'm liking that. Just going to back out a little bit here so you can see it. I'm going to go grab my flower. I'm going to create a duplicate here. Oh, sorry, pencil in my hand. I'm going to create my duplicate here. And I'm going to make sure that this was all grouped. Once I've done, oh, and actually I grouped it with something else. It's too funny. I'm going to do that again. It is, just wanting to group that here. There we go. Move it over here out of the way. Group it again. Make sure everything's grouped there. Okay. Now, this is where, again, you're going to have to size it so that it looks right, but essentially move it into place. That flower's way too big. So if you want to size it proportionally, you can hold down your Shift key and zoom in a little bit here. That looks pretty good. Again, we want to make it too big. We don't want to make it too small. Maybe I'll just make it a little bit smaller here. There. You can obviously change the color. If I want to align it on just my stem, I'm going to use my align key there. And it's probably not aligning well because of the leaves, but I can move it around. When you're working in three-dimensional like this, it's important to look at all different angles, right? So good. So I would say that's good. That's a good little flower, something that kids can create. If you want to top it off with some writing with a little message, obviously you can take the text function out here, use the drop down, and we can write in happy Mother's, and maybe I'll do Mother's Day as a separate one here in a second. And make this smaller. Move this over here on the screen here. Now, red's a little bit jarring, so let's find a little bit nicer color. Maybe something like orange. Let's do blue. No, blue, too dark. Let's do this blue. That's a little bit nicer. Okay, so align my flower here. Happy Mothers, and we just need to complete that with day. Hit Control D. Just change the text here to day. And let's just align these two. So grab our text, make sure they're aligned. Good. Well, that's good. So obviously cards and real flowers are nice, but if you don't have a chance to go out and get that real flower, there's nothing wrong with a 3D printed flower for mom, especially if you're a kid, because it shows the love and the time that you put into something and the creativity. So that's it for today. Happy Mother's Day, everybody, and hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. I've got others on my YouTube site. So again, if you're looking for some things for the kids to keep them busy, I've got an introduction to Tinkercad, and there's a few other ones around Tinkercad that varying degrees of complexity. So thanks, everybody, and again, happy Mother's Day.